Type 2 diabetes is the leading cause of heart disease and stroke in this country, and being diagnosed can feel like a life sentence.
But a Houston cardiologist says you can reverse type 2 diabetes and heart disease if you're willing to make some dramatic changes. Health Watch reporter Beth Galvin has the story.
Get rid of insulin, control blood sugar, minimize medication in just a few days. Sound too good to be true? Rosalie Isles did it. She was hospitalized, overweight, suffering from hypertension and high blood pressure when she met Dr. Baxter Montgomery, and he immediately put her on a special diet.
But 3 days after I went on this diet, I was taken off the insulin. I had been on insulin since 1987. I no longer take insulin.
By getting on a plant-based diet and getting her completely off animal flesh, it allowed us to get off the insulin, and it allows her to lose weight.
Rosalie says she lost 35 pounds in 2 months and reversed her heart disease. This is Rosalie before the diet. Now, at the age of 81, she's confident enough to model in fashion shows.
I feel like a different person. Ever since I started coming to Dr. Montgomery, my life has been different. I'm completely changed.
The dreaded scale.
Victor Fuller had just undergone his second life-saving open heart surgery when he turned to Dr. Montgomery. The diet helped him get his heart disease under better control. He no longer has type 2 diabetes, and he lost 50 pounds.
At first, it was a little shaky there. I didn't want to do it because I'm a meat and potatoes man. But then after he told me the ins and outs of what it could do for my body, how it could cleanse my body, then I gave it a try.
The weight loss is very nice and it's cosmetic, but the real magic has happened under the hood with him. Someone with the amount of vascular disease that he has should not function at nearly the capacity that he functions at. And it's because of the lifestyle change that he's made is what has gotten him to that point.
Well, I was taking 13 medications. I'm down to 4. My diabetes is under control by eating less meat.
This plan requires some pretty serious dietary changes. Dr. Montgomery encourages people to load up on things like fresh fruit and vegetables, avoiding all animal products. He says go with
minimally processed, whole food, plant-based. I try to avoid terms such as vegetarian or vegan.
His patients eat food as close to its natural state as possible. He suggests you shuck a corn on the cob and eat it raw or lightly steamed to keep its nutrients. The biggest step is letting go of meat. Dr. Montgomery has another term for it.
Individuals come and they have advanced illness. One of the first things you want to do is remove animal flesh from the system and dairy products because it puts an extra burden and the body's not able to digest it.
Since food often affects us psychologically, it may help to look at it beyond flavor or even texture.
If one were to eat a cheeseburger now, it would probably taste good for that moment, but from that point on, you only get the adverse effects of that cheeseburger.
Victor and Rosalie let go of cheeseburgers and say it worked.
I only put what I'm supposed to eat in my refrigerator, freezer, and pantry. That's the best way you can do it. Don't bring anything into your house that you can't have.
Thank God for the pleasure of meeting Dr. Montgomery because he's changed my life. He and God.
Some pretty dramatic transformations there. Dr. Montgomery says he knows that going completely meat and dairy free is a big step. He suggests that people first get themselves into a mindset to change the way they eat. And after you do that, he says, set a start date and take it from there.
Welcome back. All right, so put down the Egg McMuffin. Stay away from that bacon. Yes, I'm sorry, but you did hear me correctly. It is not so much that they're fattening, it's that those foods contain animal products. And according to my next guest, if you throw out the meat and the dairy and you eat vegan, you could cure what ails you, even diabetes. Dr. Daniel Netto specializes in diabetes and is joining me now. Good morning, doctor.
Yes, good morning, Randy.
So this is a fascinating conversation. I've been looking forward to this. You're well known for your book, The Color Code, but your new book, which isn't even out yet, suggests a vegan diet to your patients. How does this actually work to help control diabetes?
Well, you know, worldwide, both people young and old are developing diabetes at an alarming rate. And a vegan diet can help people turn their lives around. I have seen in my own practice that, you know, real change in diet makes real difference in terms of diabetes control, helping people control their weight and getting on to a healthy life.
You have some very specific tips for a vegan lifestyle, because a lot of people might not know exactly what it includes, but one of the things that you say is to include plenty of healthy plant-based proteins in the diet, from beans to nuts, seeds, and that you should avoid red meat, and that plant proteins are best. Why are plant proteins actually better than meat?
Well, plants have within them phytonutrients that help to protect the body from the inflammation that people with diabetes suffer from. And so one way of including more plants in your diet is to follow a vegan diet. One thing that people should not do is eat red meat. It's been shown that even 3 ounces of red meat per day can significantly increase the risk of developing and worsening of diabetes.
And
so it's a real issue.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And also, I think the idea of eating lots of fruits and vegetables, trying to get up to 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, try to eat a rainbow of colors every day. That would include, you know, your mother always told you, eat your greens, but also eat your reds, your blues, your oranges, and your yellows every day.
I know you're a big fan of you're a big fan of the berries. Why are berries so important? I mean, I know they're low in sugar. That's a good thing, right?
Well, it turns out that berries are very potent antioxidants. In fact, of all the fresh foods ever tested, wild blueberries are the highest in terms of their antioxidant benefits. And to start every day with, for example, a blueberry smoothie is just awesome. And you can throw in other high antioxidant foods like everything from like cocoa nibs to a little spinach in there. Sounds a little crazy, but just combining different antioxidants. It turns out that you get the most benefit if the food hasn't actually been cooked in general, if you're eating it fresh and you're getting those antioxidants into your body. It's a great way to just coat your body and protect yourself from the insults that you have through the day. And people with diabetes, with their high blood sugars and the oxidative damage that's occurring, they benefit especially from having these brightly colored fruits and vegetables throughout the day.
And you also suggest drinking water, coffee, tea, but only using the sweeteners such as stevia, right, or xylitol. I mean, some people actually may argue that those aren't, you know, that those sweeteners, they're not so healthy. So what do you say to those folks?
Oh, well, stevia is an all-natural product. It's from a little plant in Peru, and also the sugar alcohols are quite healthy as well, like xylitol, erythritol, and so on. Like Truvia is on the market now. That's stevia plus erythritol. I see that as a healthy sweetener and not chemically derived. Xylitol, for example, was derived from the bark of birch trees, and it's a healthy product.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people, for them, it might be too extreme to go vegan. So would a vegetarian diet, which isn't as strict as a vegan diet, where you can eat, you know, maybe a little bit of fish or maybe even some dairy, would that help too? You know,
I think you're absolutely right, Randy. I mean, having some fish from time to time or a few times a week is not a bad idea. I do try to get people to stay away from dairy products. I mean, milk to me was designed to make a cow go from 80 pounds to 1,000 pounds during the course of a year. Then you concentrate in the form of cheese. And people who eat a lot of cheese and a diet high in dairy products, I find, will often be having a hard time controlling their weight. So I try to get people to move away from, I say vegan, mainly to try to get people to consider the dairy products in their diet and try to reduce those. It's better for them to be eating plant-derived foods, you know, the things that we've mentioned, the berries, and the beans and the legumes and the whole grains and so on. Even having 2 or 3 servings of whole grains per day can reduce the risk of diabetes by about 30%.
Yeah, and even if you don't have diabetes, I would recommend, I'm sure you'll agree with me, just eating that way in general, right? It's healthier, good for you, gives you more energy.
Absolutely, Randy. Absolutely. I think the point is that some people like to say, well, there's a diet for people with diabetes, but I would argue there's really only one diet. There's a healthy diet that all of us should try and follow.
All right. Well, I hope folks who are waking up early with us this morning have taken some notes here. Dr. Netto, thank you so much. Appreciate having you on the show.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Randy.
There are different types of diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is the very common one. And we have done a lot of research bringing people with type 2 diabetes into our research center and putting them on a healthy diet. We do 3 things. The first is no animal products. That means a vegan diet. Second, we keep oils very low. So instead of pouring oil all over our food, we keep it to a minimum. And third, we choose healthy carbohydrates, so not a lot of sugary things, but beans, vegetables, pasta, all these are good. And what we have seen is that people who have diabetes improve, their blood sugars come down, in many cases they reduce their medicine, and sometimes they get off their medicines completely. We even see people occasionally where you never would have even known that they've had diabetes. The earlier we get to it, the better the
We've reached a point in our history now where we're so technologically advanced, and yet when it comes to our food choices, we're so behind the times. We're making food choices that make no sense whatsoever. We're eating increasing amounts of junk and thinking we're going to be healthier. The results show absolutely this is not the case.
One of the most potent, widespread pandemics that we're facing is diabetes. There's 246 million people today who suffer from diabetes.
Doctors, probably a lot of them aren't even aware that one of the big maxims from Hippocrates, father of modern medicine, was let food be thy medicine, medicine thy food.
Attempting to alleviate the symptoms of diabetes type 2 using pharmaceutical medications, mineral deficient food is moot. It's not going to work.
So my view is start with a natural approach. Maybe you have to go to chemistry, but why not exhaust that possibility so you don't end up having all these side effects that you find out 5 years, 10 years later, 20 years later, when maybe it's too late.
We wanted to see what would happen if 6 diabetics followed a whole, raw, live foods diet for 30 days. A nationwide search was undertaken to find those eating the typical standard American diet, the SAD diet, and here's what happened. A medical team was assembled to monitor their health on a daily basis. Their blood sugar levels were checked daily. They had no meat, no dairy, no alcohol, no caffeine, no refined foods, no junk foods or fast food of any kind, no candies, no sugar.
If this will cure me in a month of diabetes, oh Lord.
I'm going to ask everyone to cut your insulin intake by 1/3. That's our first focus. So we have to try real hard, and you have to be aware that it's going to move a little fast. Our biggest concern, quite frankly, is people getting insulin shock from getting off insulin so quickly.
We have become so drug-oriented. You know, we live in a world where we've become kind of so pharmaceuticalized that the idea of changing anything just through diet is kind of preposterous, I think, to a lot of people. That's almost like old medicine, like a witch doctor.
A lot of people use food to stuff their emotions. And as people begin to heal, they begin to let loose of some of those negative emotions. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I don't know.
Detox is very difficult. A person has to be very strong, very courageous, and have strong intention to move through that process.
And then this morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, it just came to me that if I leave, I'm not going to get the effects that I should. Now my mind is allowing my body to heal. I can beat diabetes, honey.
I don't care for the food at all, you know, but hey, it's working.
I can do this. This is delicious.
I love salads and greens and tomatoes and cucumbers, avocados. And I've been the man with a lantern looking for the truth, and my God, found it.
111.
My sugar went down 100.
It's not just diabetes, it's like everything went back to normal.
The results were unbelievable. By the end of the 30-day period, their blood sugar had stabilized, and they had effectively reversed their diabetes.
We can consider your cure to diabetes at this point.
Wow.
You've lost 25 pounds.
And I feel good.
My God, you look like a different person. How do we ship all my patients to Arizona?
I learned a lot about my addiction to food, my love affair with food, and how I had to just shift my whole mindset.
There's one thing that's everything that we all know. It's in every single person's consciousness, in every language, in every culture, in every country. And it's you are what you eat.